All right, good evening, everybody. If you haven't already, you can come on forward, grab a seat. There's plenty of space for everybody to fit. All right, good evening. My name is Kono Barnes. I'm a Public Information Officer for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6. I want to thank you all for coming to tonight's community meeting, and for those of you that are watching at home. So we have here gathered representatives from fire, law enforcement, and Tuolumne County to speak and answer your questions that you have. If you haven't already, we ask that you fill out a question card. We'll get that question collected up with one of our PIOs that are out in the aisles here, and we'll get that routed to the appropriate speaker so that we can get your important questions answered in the first part of the program. For the flow of the meeting, we're going to have our presenters speak. We'll hold all of our additional questions to the end, and at the end of the speaking portion, we'll switch to a question and answer, and we'll have a mic in the audience. We ask that if you are asking a question from the audience, you just raise your hand. We want to make sure that we can get a mic to you so that everybody in the room can hear you, as well as the people that are watching on TV. All right, and so to start off tonight's meeting, we'll begin with an update of the status of the fire with Operations Section Chief John Frederick.
Good evening, John Frederick, Operations for the TCU Lightning Complex. So Tuesday, September 2nd is when this all kicked off. We had a series of lightning storms come up from the south, moved our way all the way up from the Fresno area, and by 10 o'clock we had about 9,600 lightning strikes throughout the state. So 10 of those, 9,600, we had 10 of those fires start in the Tuolumne Calaveras unit by 1,000 hours. So some of the significant fires started over in the Calaveras side, and then a few of them started over in the Tuolumne County side. And then out of, from Fresno all the way up to Amador, we had about 18 fires start, and out of 18, 10 of those were going. So as you can see, over here, one of our largest fires was down in the Milton Highway 4 area. That one grew to about 3,000 acres very rapidly. So we deployed a lot of resources down there. And then as the day progressed, more fires started popping up. So at about 1,200, we were up to about 21 fires within the Tuolumne, Calaveras, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin area. So a few of those were single trees and were put out very quickly, and then a few of them got up to 100 acres, a few of them were into the 1,000-acre range, and so on and so forth. So our resources became strapped very quickly. The access into most of these fires were very inaccessible. A lot of the lightning fires start up top on ridge tops. And so access to these required our resources to actually access them off the roads, hike into them, and then that's how we gain access to them. So at about 1,500, our fires, out of the 21, about half of them were somewhat contained, and then we had another cell come through. So as we started getting, the fires started getting larger, we were able to start moving our resources and prioritizing into the more higher priority fires, the one with the structure threats. So up in Vallecito, the Murphys area became our first structure threat. We were able to move some resources out of our 2-2 fire down in the grasslands and move them up there. And then at about 1,500 is when another cell came through and blew all of our fires back out again. So one of our larger fires was the 6-5 fire. It started up here in the Red Hills area. That one was very inaccessible up top on the hill, and we had crews in there trying to gain access to that one. And like I said, at about 1,500 is when that second cell come through. So thunderstorms, they bring very erratic winds, and they spread the fire in all different directions. So at about 1700 is when this fire came down, what we call the Minnow Gulch there. It aligned exactly with the wind and topography and blew that fire right into Chinese camp. So a lot of our resources were allocated back into the Chinese camp area to try to contain that fire. At the same time, we were dealing with another fire, the 6-2 fire down in the old Don Pedro Road. We also had up in the East Sonora Bald Mountain area, another fire that was off the East Bald Mountain Road. So currently our 6-5 fire is along the edge right now. We have no growth, but we are still dealing with some rugged terrain and a lot of heavier fuels kind of off of the Shama area and then back into that 6-bitch gold area. So that is what's taking a lot of our resources right now. And then also our 6-2 fire is once again very inaccessible. We're having to hike in. A lot of the heavier fuels in there are giving us a little bit of grief, but all in all, the fires are looking extremely well. Thank you.
And next up with an update on weather and fire behavior analyst Steve Coleman.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you all for coming. Quick rundown on the conditions that were present during the day of the 2nd. So the temperatures ranged at about 70 degrees around 5 a.m. and they topped out at 101 degrees at 4 p.m. So pretty hot day. We had relative humidities that ranged from 35% all the way down to 20% towards the afternoon. So hot, dry conditions, as well as winds that ranged from 6 miles an hour early in the morning all the way up to 22 miles an hour with some gusts up to 30 miles an hour. As Chief Frederick said, when those thunder cells came through in the afternoon, we had some really erratic winds with those. The fuels in the area are at seasonal levels. They're very dry, so the live fuel moisture measured in the chemise is at 65%, and critical is at 60. It sounds pretty dramatic, but again, these are at seasonal averages for this location for this time of year. The energy release component that fuel has when it burns is in the 90th percentile. So what that means is 90% of the days that we have on record, the record is 15 years, 90% of the time, the values are lower than that. So we're up in the upper 90th percent of the burning capabilities of these. The burn index, which is how hard and difficult it is to control this brush when it does ignite, was in the 97th percentile. So only 3% of the time in 15 years, it's higher than where we were at on the 2nd. And for our 1,000-hour fuels, which are the sticks that are 3 to 8 inches in diameter, which cover the forest floor and the ground fuels there, those were at about, they were in their 10th percentile. So again, 90% of the time they're lower than that. And again, these are seasonal averages for this country out here. With the fire behavior that they experienced on the 2nd, they had rates of spread in the grass anywhere between 200 and 320 feet per minute with 14-foot flame lengths and spotting a half a mile ahead of them. So they had a really difficult firefight just in the grasslands down in the lower elevations. Once they transitioned up into the brush, that kind of slowed down in the brush fields. However, they still had 12-foot flame lengths with spotting up to half a mile. So really difficult terrain to get into to begin with, and then incorporated the fact that they couldn't get into the new spots to help extinguish that, and it just continued to spread the fire even faster. The probability of ignition while they were there on the 2nd was 91%. So out of 100 lightning strikes that would hit the ground, in theory, out of 100 lightning strikes, 91 of those lightning strikes would start a new fire that would cause a need for suppression. So it was very dry out there. It was very easy to start new fires in the area. So the conditions that the firefighters experienced up on the hills, we had plenty of hot material, a lot of rollout from the steep slope. So as that brush burned, chunks of it would roll out. As the trees split open because they had heat inside of them, those would roll out down into the drainages and continue the fire spread. So they've dealt with that. Deep-seated heat from the stump holes is continuing to cause problems out there, as well as new ignitions in the area. However, as we transition from now until the 10th, we're going to start seeing our temperatures really decrease. We're going to start seeing our humidities really come up. So on the 10th, we're expecting to see temperatures anywhere between 70 and 78 degrees. So a massive change in the temperatures out here. We're also expecting to see the relative humidity increase all the way up to about 37% in the afternoon, which is some pretty high values. We're expecting to see overnight humidity recovers anywhere between 80 and 90%. The winds are going to decrease a little bit, and there's also going to be a chance of rain on next Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're looking at a 50% chance of rain and a 30% chance of wetting rain over 0.10 inches. So there's some very significant changes in the weather that's going to help the firefighters out there over the next couple of days. And with that, the fuels are going to also start trending down. Those energy release values that I said were in the 90th percentile are going to drop down to the 60th percentile. So much less dramatic fire behavior going on. The burn index is going to drop down to the 50th percentile, which is a drop of about 42 points. So that's some pretty significant drop in fire behavior that the firefighters are going to experience out there over the coming days. So those are some of the conditions that they have on the 2nd and some of the conditions that we can expect to see as we transfer into next week. Thank you.
With a law enforcement update, Tuolumne County Sheriff Dave Vasquez.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dave Vasquez, your Tuolumne County Sheriff. I always believe in starting with gratitude, and I'd like to share a moment of reflection, and that is that since Tuesday, since this event, I can't be more thankful that everybody is safe. So far, we've received, with the data that we have, 0 fatalities and no injuries, and thank you. You know, I've had several conversations, I'll say even hundreds of conversations between today and Tuesday of all folks that are concerned about this community, because this is a shared community where we look at each other as friends, families, and professional partnerships. And so that has been on the forefront of my mind since this event initially kicked off, which in our arena would have been on that Tuesday shortly after 12 noon, an incident that came in as an assist other agency, which would have been our partners, CAL FIRE, at the time. Giving a slow update about what the fire was doing at the time. We were monitoring it within that same hour. One of our school resource officers was on scene and working with the school to ensure that they had a plan and the protocols were in place, which we have that also documented. And shortly within that next hour, several deputy sheriffs and a supervisor were down there actively working evacuation orders and warnings. That started right about a little after 1 o'clock and continued on as the fire progressed. I'm not going to go into too many details about the actual timeline of events. I just want to give a blanket overview. But at one point, I will share this tidbit with you, is that my supervisor that was down there on scene, he had radio traffic that came over and he said, send me everything that we have. And I think that working collaboratively with our fire partners, these decisions are not made lightly. And so it's easy to think that we can anticipate, but when you have multi-events going on in the same county at one time and you're dividing your incident command and you have commanders in one area and you have to send commanders to another, it gets quite challenging. I can honestly say here today that I'm very, very proud of those initiated evacuation orders that came collaboratively as a team to get those folks out of there. And I do believe that it's the actions from those deputy sheriffs and firefighters and everybody that even came in off duty to assist is why we have that statistic of 0 fatalities and 0 injuries right now. And it is my hope and prayer that it stays that way throughout the remainder of this event as we move into recovery. We received some comment cards, and I don't want anybody in the audience to think that I'm ignoring your questions. I received 2, and it's my understanding that there will be a question and answer period following all of the updates. So I plan on speaking directly to those. I will read the question and give you my answer. Please know this, that throughout this event, initiating and starting and partnering with those schools and having folks on the ground, we can report and document at least 350 successful evacuations, whether it be orders or warnings for the entire area that was within, I'll say, the sphere of influence of this event, which is huge for us. And that's a combination of having boots on the ground and also utilizing technology, which is our Everbridge system and initiating phone calls, but primarily we will do everything we can to get boots on the ground and somebody knocking on your door. And I'm proud to say that within that first hour, we had anywhere from 15 to 20 deputy sheriffs, a combination of allied resources and agencies that were helping with us. I cannot express enough gratitude for our partner agencies with the California Highway Patrol, with Tuolumne County Probation, and everybody that's assisted in this effort. It has absolutely been a team effort. I'm grateful for that, our Division of Animal Control. Fast forward now to first day, Tuesday and Wednesday. That next day was a lot of discussions, a lot of conversations about closures and evacuation orders. Believe me when I say I'm very attentive to everybody's feelings and how they're experiencing this, and that there's some folks that have experienced great loss, great tragedy, and know that that is in the forefront of my mind, and that I do pay close attention to those feelings, and I will take ownership for those feelings. When we talk about how we repopulate and how we start lifting those orders, I believe starts coming into the realm of kind of beliefs, and there's areas where I will share with you that it does take the full scope of my authority to issue these orders, and it's very difficult when I know that I have my people that are displaced from their homes. Please don't ever think that I'm not constantly pressing and constantly advocating to repopulate areas, but I have to say this. We have to make sure that we are making collaborative decisions together as a team with our fire partners and myself to ensure that we are executing that scope of authority appropriately. Because I would rather ensure that our decisions are thoughtful and that they're calculated to ensure that they are the correct decisions. Within that first day, we advocated at the incident command post, which is in Frogtown right now. It's where the management team is meeting. We're meeting daily. We have constant updates, and we're constantly talking about how we can get people back into healing and into their homes as quickly as possible. And I think that in the history of Tuolumne County, if you start looking at the speed and the dynamics of this one incident, I think that we've been highly effective in being able to address those concerns and getting folks back in to repopulate as quickly as possible. Within that first 48 hours, we were able to open up and consolidate some of the closures, which I think was good. We were able to get some of our industry back up and running, because it was important to me that if we had areas that weren't directly affected due to the hard work of our firefighters making sure that things were safe, that we would be able to get those avenues open, meaning our mill, meaning the diesel turkey company that we have down there, our power plant, and getting folks back into work. Not that that was necessarily the highest priority, but it was the highest priority given the totality of the circumstances and what was safe to adjust at those times. Next, looking into those people that were displaced or that had properties that might have been just outside the area that was active at that moment, and being able to kind of really strain that authority in our partnerships to find out what exactly we could do to get folks back into there, which I think we saw following that next 24 hours after that. We are in constant contact with all of our partners to ensure that we are not infringing on anybody's constitutional rights, and that we are restoring that quality of life and expediting the healing process that we are all going through right now. And so I do anticipate that we will have more good news, and that as progress on this event moves forward, I have nothing but confidence that we will be able to see more of those restrictions adjusted shortly. But they are constant conversations. I don't like to offer absolution when I don't have all the answers. There will be conversations happening throughout the night and continuous to ensure that your quality of life is best represented, so you can get back home and we can start navigating the healing process to the fullest extent. Now, I've talked for quite a long time, but I think the message is very, very clear that I work for you, I'm advocating for you, we are with you, our thoughts and prayers. It's time that we have to move forward and really start healing. I am grateful that we were able to have this meeting. It was very short notice, but I'm grateful that everybody pulled together from our county administration, our Office of Emergency Services, our fire partners, to be able to get everybody together. I will not leave until the last person is gone. If there is a question that you have that you'd like to ask me about, privately or off the record in some other location, that's fine too. I will be here to answer those questions. But again, I will end on that note of reflection that I am grateful that you're here, I'm grateful that you're safe, and that we have a lot of work to still do. So thank you so much. If I missed something, please feel free to ask, and we will make sure we touch on that again. Evacuation orders, we still have some that are in place. We're expecting modifications as the conversations continue to get everybody back into their homes as quickly as possible. Thank you so much.
Next up with a message on recovery and community resources, we have Tuolumne County OES Coordinator, Dory Beats.
Good evening. Thank you. Dory Beats, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. First and foremost, I want to say that we have been operating our public information line. If you have not seen that, make sure you call us 209-533-5151. Also outside in the lobby, if you did not receive a packet, I wanted to make sure every of the homeowners in the area of the fire received it. There's some very valuable information in there. Most importantly, we do have access on our webpage. You can search Tuolumne County OES incidents, and you can get to our webpage that has a lot of resources. We will be posting on there as well the CAL FIRE damage assessment map. It is a virtual ArcGIS live map that you can actually go in, search your address, and look and see. If you have questions about your home or your property, you can do that through your computer or your phone. Make sure you go to that link and take a look at that information that is out there currently right now. We really want to focus a little bit on what some of the next steps are, as mentioned. We too are also very concerned to get you back in your quality of life in the road to recovery. And so there are a lot of steps that have to happen, a lot of moving parts that we're currently in different phases. I will say that Tuolumne County, the Board of Supervisors, has declared a local state of emergency. The board will be ratifying that proclamation on Tuesday. The public health officer has also declared a local health emergency as it relates to debris that will also be ratified by the Board of Supervisors. Those are very, very important steps for us as a county and a community to provide resources and assistance to you as homeowners and property owners. So as we get through that, we are making the right recommendations as well as requests, both from the governor's office and FEMA, so that we can bring in resources to assist you. With that, we will be updating our webpage through social media and other outlets to make sure that we're keeping you apprised of what those steps are, as well as opportunities to get some assistance. Normally through these phases, as we see destructive wildfires, we will work to support what is called a local assistance center, or a LAC. That is a request that we have with Cal OES currently right now in the governor's office to bring to you as a community, that will bring a lot of those state agencies. We will then partner with a lot of our county agencies, nonprofits, any of those groups that can provide assistance to you based on your individual needs, get you into the right direction, and hopefully quicker on that road to recovery. Really important that we support the work that we are trying to do to support you. There is a lot of information that is out there also about the safety of going back to your property. So we work in conjunction with the incident management team, in conjunction with the sheriff's office. When they get ready to open up the properties, we want to make sure that you are equipped. There is information in these packets about that, whether it's household waste, because your refrigerator has been without a power for the last couple of days, or it is debris removal. What's going to happen? What are those next steps? We're going to continue as we get through the process and our request through the governor's office to inform you what will become available to you as a property owner. When we get ready to open up and allow folks into those properties, again, we will work with the sheriff's office and the incident management team to have some initial PPE kits available for you. We want to ensure your safety when you go back home. It's very, very important that even though the fire is done, or the footprint of the fire has subsided, or the activity of that fire, understand that there still will be debris, there will be some concerns that we have, and we want to make sure that we protect you. So make sure you get that information, make sure you go to our webpage, make sure you give us a call if there's information. We will be helping guiding you through this recovery process on behalf of Tuolumne County. Thank you.
And now we have a message from Tuolumne County District 4 Supervisor Stephen Griefer.
Good evening. They save the right guy for last because the politicians should speak the least in situations like this. So I want to say thank you to everybody that has first come out here tonight. Secondly, to all of our partners that have been working around the clock. There are really two things I want to emphasize Right now, well, first, there's two machines that are in play. The first is putting the fire out, getting people back in their house, addressing the situation right now. The second machine is the one you won't see, and that's the governmental side of that. And that's what I'm here to do, is to make sure that if you have questions, concerns, I'm going to take that information, work with our partners, and get it back to you. We're going to do everything we can to alleviate any questions or concerns. The board is dedicated to working as fast as we can to make sure that your concerns were addressed, as well as working with our partners and making sure that we can put this in our rearview mirror as fast as possible. We can get you into your homes, and we can provide the assistance that you demand out of your elected officials. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time, because all the people that really know what they're talking about are sitting right here, and you should hear from them rather than me. So I will wait until the end. I will stick around, so if you have any questions or complaints or concerns, please let me know, and we'll get those addressed as we can. Thank you.
And now your Unified Incident Commanders from CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6, David Shurik and Jared Andrade.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jared Andrade. This is my partner, David Shurik. We're two of the incident commanders, unified incident commanders for this incident. You've heard the term incident management team a few times up to this point. What does that mean? You look around the room, you see some folks that are wearing a CAL FIRE uniform that have a red hat on. That's a specialized team that's called out whenever a unit or a fire area needs some additional assistance. And that phone call was made to us on Tuesday. We arrived on Wednesday to assist with the unit. I can say that the incident management team is brought together. It has specialized components that assists a unit in overseeing the administrative and the logistical supports associated with a long firefight or a host of incidents that require additional support and assistance. So that's why we were called out. With that being said, I can say that with the number of fires and the number of personnel that were committed prior to our response, the Tuolumne Calaveras unit, which I'm going to let Chief Cashy talk a little bit about that more later, but they did a tremendous job prior to our arrival with a very, very dynamic situation that spread across a very large geographic area with a finite number of resources. In speaking from the incident management team perspective, when we come out, a lot of times the incident is confined to a single area, and we can focus our resources and efforts in a very focused manner. Again, I mentioned that this was a very dynamic incident, and we had to assist the unit with the geographic response, or the geographic problems that presented themselves with the amount of resources that were in play. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner if you'd like to say something, and we will be with you throughout the course of this incident until everything is mitigated and the unit is able to take back control of all of the resources that they have assigned to Tuolumne Calaveras.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Shurik, one of the Unified ICs, and as my partner said, we do come here and assist the Tuolumne Calaveras unit. But the larger picture of that is we are here to support you. And so if you see anybody in the community, as my partner mentioned with the red hat, and you have any questions, please reach out, have a conversation, and they will answer that question, or they will get it answered for you. Our goal is to get you back to a state of normal as best as possible and as quick as possible. And that's how we work together collaboratively with our Sheriff's Department and other agencies within the county to get that done. So I'm not going to take any more time. We have some additional speakers, and we want to get to your questions, so thank you.
And some final words from CAL FIRE Tuolumne Calaveras Unit Chief David Cashy.
Good evening, everyone. Dick Cashy, again, the Unit Chief for Tuolumne County, or for CAL FIRE TCU. I'm also the County Fire Chief for Tuolumne County. I want to start out by telling you we've heard a lot from our great speakers and partners here. I want to tell you about what happened on 9/2 from my perspective, and give accolades to all the first responders that are out there. When this unforecasted lightning came through the unit, it was an all-hands event, much like the sheriff said. Our first fire was reported around 0400 hours in the morning with a significant acreage in response, and as the lightning cells moved through, more fires kept popping up. Our executive team of CAL FIRE folks in the unit, being our assistant chief staff and our deputy chiefs that are sitting up here front, provided a complex incident organization so that we could triage resources based on the total amount of fires and the threat to life and property. Within that first day, we had 21 fires over 4 different counties, pushing 13,000 acres. And all of our staff was engaged to the highest level possible, unsupported largely for the first 48 hours, ensuring that we could do everything that we could. In addition to that, geographically, we were not the only place to get active lightning cells that cause fires. To the south of us, in Madera and Mariposa counties, as well as Fresno, all received lightning and had major incidents from it. Therefore, when it came to resource ordering, committed resources in the geographic region were already committed. So we were forced to work with what we had, and those orders were placed early to get them into the unit to support in addition to your local initial attack. As the day progressed, the first fire that posed a life safety threat to infrastructure, structures, and people was the 2-7 fire in Vallecito, threatening the community of Murphys. Our complex incident organization prioritized resources for that fire in order to meet the need to ensure that there was the minimal loss of structures and threat to life. And within an hour of that acknowledgement, the 6-5 fire, with that second cell that moved through, started progressing rapidly with those downward outforce winds from that cell, pushing into Chinese camp, and that became the priority for additional resources. The timing of my day put me in Chinese camp when the fire came through Chinese camp on 6-5. I witnessed the firefight, I witnessed our sheriff and their personnel and what they did to try to get as many people out as safe as possible and try to save as many structures as we could. Our aircraft were operating in the entire unit over 4 counties, primarily at one point, Tuolumne and Calaveras, that resulted in a TFR of all 3 airports. And out of our Columbia Air Attack Base, we pumped over 140,000 gallons of retardant in one day. 63,000 of those gallons were dropped on the 6-5 fire. In addition, we were able to fly the night-flying helicopters that were able to assist the dozers on the first night in keeping that fire out of Sullivan Creek so that it could come in and threaten the community of Jamestown. So as we progress through this, we're all here with you. We understand there's devastation and loss, and we are committed to the recovery, committed with our partners. I can't give enough accolades to our cooperators, being the Sheriff's Department, OES, and the support from our supervisors and the team to try to get this community back to a recovery effort. Thank you.
All right, we're going to transition to our question and answer portion. If you still have a question card in your hand and you have it filled out, if you could just hold it up, and we'll have PIOs up and down the aisle to come grab those from you so that we can get those to our speakers. We got one right in front. Perfect. So we are going to come around the room with the mic, and if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get the mic to you, and then we'll get that the appropriate speaker to answer that question. So, all right, your first question. Anybody have a question? All right, getting the mic up to you. How you doing?
Okay, this is my question about County Campfire, because I called CAL FIRE 3 times to put my nose on that thing. I live in Roland. I finally got tired of waiting because I saw what it was going to do, so I hauled my cat down there. I got down there at 6 o'clock, it was too late. I put lines around houses down there. And then I talked to CAL FIRE, one of the cat bosses, and he said, yes, we need you over there. I didn't have a B number. I got him over the years B number, but he needed my help because there was no doses over there. I ran for 36 hours putting lines around this fire. There is no reason why this fire should have got away from anybody if those cats had been in there. I know where there was other cats sitting waiting on the way. So, what you guys are saying, hey, I know you can't control the weather. There's no way, no possible way. But this should have never happened. And as far as you guys built these fire lines one place wide, I've been on enough fires in my life to know one place wide in a grassland is not going to work. You've got to have at least 8 to 10 blades wide because we built fire lines all night long noon that day, I would have put light on that whole town. But I was 3 hours away. So, my name is Pete Bowman, and that's all I have to say.
All right, any additional questions from the audience?
Out of all that borate that you say got put on our town or on Chinese camp area, how much of it actually get Chinese camp town?
None is right, so you don't need to answer that question. Why was Chinese camp not prioritized over the vegetation fire? You could have stopped it at Maiden Lane easy. You could have stopped it at the school, sir. No borate was hit, and I did not see water on anything, sir. So those are my questions. Why no water? Why no borate? Why no help afterwards? No spot fires were being put out. Nothing. There was a gentleman screaming for help, and the fireman stood there with his arms crossed while Mr. Royal, if you're here, thank you for saving the rest of our town. He put the fire out. The gentleman had to get out of his house, go into the fire truck, start it up, and he used your fire truck to put out the fire next to his home. So, spouting that you had borate out there, none of it. 2 borates at Montezuma and 49 or 120. That's where the borate went. Not on our town, sir. Not on our town. And that's all I've got to say.
Well, there was no copper flying Tuesday. I know that because I was there.
We were there. We stayed and fought, and I saved my home. I'm 65 years old with no help.
Well, wait, the question hasn't been answered. Where
Oh,
was
there
the
it is. There
borate
it is.
drop?
Thank you.
All right, can you rephrase the question and
Why was no borate put on our town or water? How's that?
all right, thank you.
Not being in the air attack, I cannot tell you where those drops went. But what I can tell you is that we do keep track of every gallon of retardant that's dropped. And they did drop 63,000 gallons of retardant on that fire, regardless of whether we saw it or not. Now, I understand. I cannot answer your question directly. I was not in the air.
All right, next question. Can you raise your hand? We'll get to you. Looks like we got one right this aisle right here.
My name's Will Lanier. I'm just looking to list of names where I can help out, with food, baby clothes, or diapers, whatever. Is there a list somewhere that I can get?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a few items that are up and down the aisle, so if you could raise your hand, we will gather your information and we will get you connected through our liaisons, and we'll either get you tied in with the Red Cross or one of those other NGOs that can get those resources tapped into that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm really watching this. I would like to know what answer you can use to the Red Cross together.
We do have representatives from the Red Cross here tonight that can perhaps answer that question. They're not on stage right now. Will you be able to answer that?
I'm here.
Perfect.
So, kind of have a loud voice, so I'm talking. Thank you. So we have, this is a no-notice event. We do work with our county partners. We always have shelters on standby. Because it was a no-notice event, we do take some time. We do not mobilize our teams until it is safe to do so, until roads are passable. And immediately we stood up our shelter as soon as it was possible. And we put that out on social media, that it was available. I'm not sure, I will be honest with you, I was not here at the beginning. I can get back to you with a better answer on that, or perhaps I can defer to Dory, please.
I'm going to see if I can try to answer. When we have a wildfire event, obviously in Tuolumne County, we work directly with the sheriff and the fire if there's a need and there's an evacuation. So we immediately decide to open a shelter based on that need if there are folks evacuated. So we did open and mobilize. In fact, when we ask for Red Cross to assist us, it takes at least 2-hour window to get folks, and it was already stated by both the sheriff and the unit chief, there were multiple events going on, so it was taking a little longer. We have built a backup plan for Tuolumne County. Very proud that we have Tuolumne County employees that will put up cots, open up the shelter, do all of the things after hours, after they're ready to work their shifts, to help us until Red Cross can open up the next morning at 0800. So from a shelter perspective. Now, if the question is about Red Cross growing into the community for those individuals that chose to stay within the order, that was a little bit different because we had to wait till it was safe to do so. And it's very difficult for us to go in and service individuals who have chosen to stay in their homes when the sheriff has issued an evacuation order. So I hope that answered the question in that sense for Red Cross.
All right, raise your hand. We got some questions over here.
Did you guys have to pick and choose what you could say?
I'm just going to blanketly answer that question just for me. As the sheriff for the people of Tuolumne County, there's nobody that's going to tell me what to say. I'm going to tell you what I know. Sometimes I'm going to speak from the actual evidence, and sometimes I might actually just speak from my heart. But I don't think that there's anybody that represents me or myself to give a statement that would say that we had to pick and choose beforehand or have a manufactured response. And I'm speaking for myself and not for anybody else.
What does save? S-A-V.
Oh, save. I thought she said say. I was like, oh, no.
Save.
I'm sorry. Can you relay that?
There's properties that were burned with stuff in the middle that was fine. So did you have to choose what to save? Got it.
Yeah, so every time that we go out to an incident, we're going to prioritize life and property and then the vegetation. So when we start getting our incidents that are going to be getting into structures and threatening lives, then yes, we're going to reallocate our resources over those incidents. So even our grass fires that were down into the lowlands that had no structure threat, we had a 3,400 acre fire that had no resources on it that night. So we had to leave that fire that had no threat to property or life and reallocated our resources. So going off your question of what burned and what didn't burn, that is that very erratic weather behavior that happens with thunderstorms. So the fire gets pushed through one way, and then not even but 5 or 10 minutes, that flank or that fire can completely switch directions and move a whole different area on us. So it's very hard to judge exactly where that fire is going to be headed and to plan that fire out. So that is one of the very... I can't hear you, sir. So just going back to your question, that is going to be a very hard thing to say exactly what's going to burn and what's not going to burn. The fuel type, there's a very list of factors of why things burn and don't burn and during a fire.
All right, we have a question in the back.
Yes, I live in Chinese camp and I've lived there 8 years. And I can remember when we first moved there, the CAL FIRE came around and would red tag property that had trash and the grass growing really tall. I haven't seen you there in at least 5 years. Why aren't you guys still red tagging places to be cleaned up. There's so many Chinese camps that are deserted, or that was Chinese camps that were deserted and just trashed everywhere.
Code enforcement.
Whether that might come up towards the front. So we don't have a representative to speak directly to that.
Are defensible space inspections or what you're referencing? Okay, so I'd be happy to pull data of the last time that we were in Chinese camp and when we did those inspections and provide it to you, if I can get your contact after the meeting. Thank you.
Question right in front.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, was code enforcement, because I've seen guys drive by a lot behind me, just stacked with stuff. Cars, debris, weeds grow 5 feet tall, nobody does anything about it. Is there any code enforcement in Tuolumne County?
So it's a similar question before.
Because I know that nobody's done it.
So there is code enforcement. The problem is the way the laws are written. And I know that's a BS answer, but here's the truth as it is. Let's just say somebody calls your property and says, you've got a bunch of abandoned stuff and a bunch of garbage on your property. Code enforcement sends you a letter. Now it's an issue between you and the county. So we can't tell the person who called you in and said, hey, how come my neighbor's not cleaning up? So we are actively trying to get those properties cleaned up. It is working with the property owners, but because of the way the laws are written, because of the way the legal system is written as well, it's a very slow process, which is why the county has been very diligent working with CAL FIRE and other organizations to try to get defensible space, to try to get cleanup days, to try to get people to kind of do the right thing that didn't cost them anything. So your frustration is spot on. I totally get that. I hear that all the time. I live it. I'm up at Groveland, so I feel exactly what you're saying. It's a slow process, which is not the right answer, but it's the only one that I have.
Like over a decade slow? I mean, you have to live with property like over that amount of time.
Yeah, because
the house behind us is a chill.
Yeah, and the reason why is because somebody might be a bad property owner. It could be a family trust. It could be somebody that has no interest in the area, a property that they inherited 20 years ago.
Takes the property.
Was that, well, it gets, not to put the sheriff on the spot here, but violating people's private rights and legal rights is a very difficult.
But to put lives in jeopardy.
I get that. I totally understand. We all remember the bark beetles, how many trees had to get knocked down and picked up, and people couldn't afford it. We found ways to get that. We work with all of our neighborhoods, fire-wise. We try to get defensible space. It's getting that individual, that property individual, to take responsibility for their property and to recognize that they're putting you in danger. And we do everything we can on the county level. We have great resources to say, hey, here's opportunities, right? Come, let us know. Free garbage days. Get rid of your old tires and stuff. We get that. It's getting the individual property rights and not violating your constitutional rights or their constitutional rights.
So would you have any proof of notifying these people at all?
Well, let's talk afterwards. So how many people are actually here from the Chinese camp area? Okay. So I'm going to be very popular at the end of the meeting here. So I will stick around afterwards. I'll get everybody's information. I will take your answers, and I will reach out to each one of you individually with your questions, and I will try to get that answer to you. Yes, sir.
I've heard you guys talk about, getting people back into their homes. Well, what about the ones that haven't homes?
Yeah.
What are we doing for permits, cleanup, stuff like that? Let's deal with that.
I can't answer that because I don't speak for the board. However, as your supervisor, I will work closely with the county, with our acting code enforcement, Roger Root, to make sure that we can start streamlining. I can't and I won't make you a promise I can't keep, but we will definitely have this on the top of our list to either fast track or come up with ways to make sure that we are addressing your concerns and those permit process.
And one more question for the deputy.
The sheriff?
What is your police presence going to be like after you lift the bans?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Your police presence, what is it going to be like after everything's opened up?
Yeah, so even from day one, Tuesday of the event, we have been staffing it with high levels of resources.
After you lift the bans on everybody, let people go back in. What's your presence going to be like then?
We keep patrolling of all the areas that are under any kind of evacuation order or warning. Once we lift those, it's expected that you'll return back to your private property.
It's burned down.
And you still have value on your property that didn't burn.
For sure. Yeah, so the short answer is this. The short answer is this. The question was, what is my police presence going to be after the orders and evacuation warnings are lifted? If we have valuables that are in that area, we have a staffing plan that far supersedes the next week and even 2 weeks. We have a rolling staffing plan that leverages our partners with not only California Highway Patrol, but Tuolumne County Probation. Right now and throughout this event, we've had over 50 staff on a rotation to provide police services to the area. And if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or even local media, we try to go all press to show just exactly the resources that we are maintaining for the people of Chinese Camp, whether your home is still standing there or not. I will tell you this, I will give you my word that I will police it as long as we need to ensure that your life, property, and possessions are intact and that we are protecting that. That's our obligation. I said that on every one of my press releases thus far. This is why we exist. We exist for no other reason but to protect your property. You have enough to worry about right now. We're going to take care of it. I will speak just a touch on you a little bit about code compliance. I don't oversee code compliance. That's a legislative function. It's written in county ordinance. It's overseen by the legislative board, and essentially they provide a director. But I will tell you, in the last year and a half, I've received a lot of developmental feedback about code enforcement and code compliance. And I am having those conversations to find out if this is a leadership opportunity where I can offer some of my assistance in having those conversations on what it looks like in the future. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I will acknowledge that I think it is an area of development in the county organization. We need to do better, and I'm going to help. I can't give you any absolution right now, but those conversations are happening with our interim county administrator, and there's more to follow. Matter of fact, we had a meeting scheduled to discuss what that would look like moving forward. I want to say it was the day of this event, or it might have been the day after, but it got canceled. So I want you to know that the leadership at the legislative level, which I am not a legislator, but as your sheriff, I am advocating to help and capitalize on whatever opportunities are in existence there. I hope that answers your question. Nothing I'm going to say is going to relieve your frustration about what code enforcement and compliance looks like, but just know it's on my radar and I'm looking into it. I want to help.
At least you tried to answer the question pretty well, so that's good. I got 1 out of 3.
All right.
Who's the guy that said move back to the city? Who's that guy? Who's the guy that said move back to the city? Is that you?
All right, we have another question right up front here.
Hi everyone, my name is Paulina. I live in Washington Street, Chinese Camp. When the stuff happened, I want to appreciate the police officer yelling me to get out on time to save my life. I want to thank you all. He had work on a hot day for since Tuesday until now. The police still stand by over there, try to be safe for us to go back to the property and all the fire. Man who put the fire out, I want to say thank you so much to save our life, nobody injured. And my question is, and everything all over, the Red Cross will help me to hook up my water and electric bag. That's all I ask.
Looks like we have a question right in the middle over here.
This is a two-part question about the repopulation. The first question is, why was the mill and the turkey factory privatized or getting people back into their homes? And also, as far as the closures in town, our home we're at 65, and I can see it from the road, I can see it from the living area, the lawn is green, the house is attacked. Why am I not home? When I'm standing at the place, the incident command spot there at the store, and I'm not allowed to go to my home. Why?
Thank you for the question. I'll answer that. Different phases of repopulation. The totality of the circumstances comes into play. I will take ownership that you're not in your home right now, and that bothers me. Yes, I'll take ownership of that because it's me that initiates those orders. It's the direct authority from the sheriff. I make those decisions in collaboration with my partners who know the subject matter expertise of what it means to be safe and actually allow folks in there. I will tell you, I've been doing this work for over 20 years. It's very difficult to anticipate the human factor of what people are going to do. And when I initiate those orders, that collaborative decision that gets made, and I carry out those orders, I have to try and anticipate what people are going to do and how they're going to behave within these areas. And to answer your first question, why did I prioritize or why did I advocate to have the mill and diesel and those other areas that were in that specific area between 120 and the actual area incident? The short answer is those areas were not impacted directly, and they didn't directly affect what I was seeing as the ingress and egress of the actual operation. There was other opportunities to collapse those closures while conceptually completing the task that we needed to complete, and that was allowing fire apparatus, PG&E, and all the other folks that needed to get in there to ensure that power lines were taken care of, new power poles were being installed, which they did a fantastic job, and they worked really fast in my experience. So all of those things come into play. I too share the frustration of when I don't see fire in one area. You know, I do have those thoughts that say, well, I want to lift restrictions on that. The problem is that we're dealing with a totality of circumstances where when you still have hot spots, and I'll let fire speak to this more, that goes into the decision-making process of where people are going to go. Once I allow an area to be repopulated, people have the freedom of movement to move about all that whole area as they rightfully should have. If it's not safe to do that, and I'm not getting that information that it is safe to repopulate in those certain areas, I have to make that difficult decision to leave those areas on restricted access. And I know that you're not happy with that. I get that you can stand at the IC and see your house right there. Give me just a little bit of time. I think that we're going to get you what you need to get in there.
200 feet away, right there,
I hear you, and here's what I have to tell you. There's nothing that I'm going to tell you that's going to relieve your frustration, because I made that decision at this meeting that we had this morning, collaboratively with the information that I have available to me as to what safe means about being able to return folks. Because if I let you in, I need to let the other folks who might just be another 50 yards away, that might be another 25 yards away, and guess what? That's a lot of traffic for a lot of things that are still dynamic happening right there in Chinese Camp. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain and make you feel better about it. Your feelings are valid. And believe me, if there's an area that's developmental for us, we're going to work harder and we're going to work to do better. But I'm going to tell you right now that the information that I have, the best decision to ensure your safety, and I'm not in the business of over-governing what people are going to do and how they're going to do it. Believe me, it bothers me that you're not in your house, and I will be advocating tomorrow morning to get you back in your house at the next fire meeting. And I think that there's nobody on this stage that wants to keep you out of your house. When I say that this is a partnership and it's collaborative, we have those discussions. Everybody is working very hard. And I would just, the feelings are valid, but I would just challenge the belief a little bit. And if we look at the history of how we do repopulation, I do feel like this is one of the most expedient repopulation efforts and modification of closures that we've seen, especially in a fire event of this magnitude. I wish I had something better to tell you. I wish I could tell you can go home right now. I don't think that that's actually the right thing to do based on the procedure that we're navigating, the totality of the circumstances. But again, I'll be happy to stay and talk to you more about my decision-making model and why I agreed to leave that closure where it is right now. So if you stick around, I'll be happy to answer that and have a more engaging conversation with you, because it's important to me. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Ralph Souza. I'm the owner of the RNS Metals, the scrapyard. I know each and every one of your burn victims' feelings, your emotions. I know every one of them, because I lost everything I had but the shirt on my back. And my least cat came out alive. But you know what? It's time that we rebuild, and we rebuild together. This is what I heard a comment here: where do we dispose of our things? Where can they go? My company will go ahead and provide the dumpsters, and then many times we will provide the equipment to come out there and to clean that up and help you. I know what it's like. And on the front of this little pamphlet right here, when I see this man hugging this lady, that's what it was like in my home that I didn't have as well too. My heart goes out for all of these that are victims of such things, and we don't have the answer right now of whose fault or where do we point the fingers. But I can say this, that I've never been in a county more honored and more upstanding that we've all come together and we've all worked together to rebuild these homes. Another commodity that I have that I'm willing to donate is that I have a lot of cattle fencing, I have a lot of T-posts, I have a lot of overabundance of construction material for animal shelter as well too. I will donate that, and I will do more than that. I'll deliver it to you. I worked in Camp Hope. I know what it's like to clean up, and I was on the initial attack of that. I know what it was like to do in my own home, and I did work around Chinese camp, and I was the one that was there trying to renovate that old town. And that was 11 and 12 and 13. So, for all you victims, here again, my name is Ralph Souza. I own RNS Metals. Feel free to contact me. The organizations can feel free to contact me as well. And I am a man of my word. And I will put the dumpsters out there because this is the product that is left behind, is the things that are not burned. And they're metal. And they're heavy. We will help. My company will help free of charge. And we will provide the dumpsters to help all these burn victims.
If I could respond, and just also too, there was a couple of questions that are around the debris management process and the removal. There's kind of two phases, and as I talked earlier, we are making some requests, and that timing of the request to bring services in is very important. But when we get the okay and the area is lifted for individuals to go home to their property and their houses, whether they have damage or destruction and debris, it's really, really, really important that we understand what those phases are. And I just want to caution, I know we will be taking all of those businesses that have an interest to support us. Make sure you get our contact office number, 209-533-6395. We will help collect that, so make sure you're getting that information. I do have a staff member out front that has a table that we can make sure we get a business card from you. But I want to make sure that everyone understands, when we get to the debris removal and there's choices, you as a property owner are going to probably have to make a decision. It's not here right now because we don't know about the state request to come in and do the debris removal for us. If we get to that point and the state of California and Cal OES says that we've met those thresholds, our request is approved, if you as a property owner start to move debris from a fire damaged home and the toxic materials that might be associated with that, the minute you remove them, you will not be eligible to participate in the state-run program. So I just want everyone to be cautious about that decision. We're going to work with contractors, we're going to work with property owners, we're going to make sure that we have exhausted all available resources to us as a county to request those services to provide to you. But I want you to be cautious about that. We don't want you to lose in the opportunity. It's unfortunate that we're in this process right now because we're making those requests. I don't have a definitive answer from the state currently. We made that request, we're making those calls, we're doing the things that we are required to do. And one of them is we personally as a county have to do an initial damage estimate. That is due by Monday. We thankfully, in connection and coordination with the team, the CAL FIRE team and their DINs, were able to get information that we can use, but we're still gathering a bunch of other information that has to do with public infrastructure, other damages that we collect in order to make that justification to our request. But I just caution you as a property owner, if you have a question about that, if you choose, it is your private property and your right to do certain things. There is a process for that. We just want to make sure that you understand that if you do take debris off. There is a process, and then you are responsible for that financially, and then you will not be a part of the state program should we get approval for that. So if there are contractors out there, if there are individuals that want to assist, and I thank you for that offer and your experience in the work that we are doing, we are going to make sure that we can provide the most options to you as a property owner to help you recover.
All right, an additional question?
Yes. So what is the process? I have a friend here. Power is on. Her house did not burn down. She had to be escorted into her house to get shoes and a jacket today. It is her home. They would not allow her into her home. Do you have an estimated date where the people can actually get into their own property to pick up their clothing, check their refrigerator? Do you have an estimated time whatsoever?
Okay, so as I stand here right now, it would be, can't offer you any absolution, but I'll tell you right now, I'm advocating tomorrow. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm advocating that we get residents back into their homes as quickly as possible. I'm going to be having that conversation tomorrow and leveraging the partnerships that you see up here and really pushing to hopefully get the information as a collaborative effort that we can get folks back in there. I'm aiming for that. Whether or not that's going to come to fruition based on the totality of the circumstances, I can't guarantee that, but that is my goal. That's the goal, I think, of everyone, to get you back in your homes as quickly as possible. I think that we'll be having those conversations. We've been having them every morning. We're getting that live information of what's happening for the crews that are in the field right now and doing those assessments. And so I feel very confident that it's coming soon. At least that's my goal. And so again, it has to be safe. I'm aiming to have that conversation tomorrow morning, and I hope that I have that good news for you. I can only say hope right now because I can't say that I'm going to let you back into your house tomorrow. If there's something that comes up or something that's discovered throughout the night, then that information could change. But we will be having meetings every morning. We have them at 7, at 9, and another ones at 10 and 11. So we're constantly having these conversations, constantly having these assessments. When it's safe to do so, we will get you back in there as quickly as we can.
I'm just going to hit on a few of the factors that he's talking about and the discussions that we have with the people out in the field. So when the fire goes through, especially like a community like this, there's going to be a ton of different hazards out there. So we're talking about trees that are weakened, that are fallen. We have power lines that have been fallen over, gas lines from propane tanks, city roads that need to be fixed, guardrails. So a lot of these factors have to be mitigated before we bring the public back in. And I know that some of the homes have not burned in that area, and it seems like we need to get the people back, but there's a lot of mitigating factors that we need to make sure that we make it safe for you guys to get back in there to your homes before we open the areas back up.
All right, good question right up here, or more in the back?
All right, my name is Tim. Chinese camp deal. We got a phone call, me and my mom got a phone call a couple nights ago, an officer.
Speak up.
A couple neighbors over on Maiden Lane. How are they still living there when their place trailer park burned to the ground? And then she squatted on my porch, and we got a call from the officer. How is it that they're still there, but we can't go back?
Very big question.
And they don't have a house. They got a teepee right now.
I'm sorry, I answered your question. You have somebody that's squatting on your property, and your question is how are they able to be there and you're not?
Yeah, why are they, exactly.
Okay, well what I'm going to do is I'm going to get your information because obviously squatting is an issue. When we talk about repopulation, when we issue those evacuation orders, obviously there's certain provisions of safety, active fire, other hazards, but you have to realize that when we're repopulating folks, we take on that obligation that we have to protect all of that property. And like I told the gentleman just a few minutes ago. He has my word, you all have my word, that we're going to protect that property and staff it to ensure that we don't have folks going through other people's things. And so when we repopulate, we have to really think about what that looks like in a systematic manner, that if we're going to allow residents only into those areas. If there's somebody squatting on your property, then obviously we're going to address that issue, and I would be happy to have that conversation. And we'll send deputies over there right now to remove people from your property if that's what's going on.
They've been removed supposedly. He gave the lady a fair warning not to come back. But now if some stuff of ours is missing, like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't.
Let me work with you on that, and I will, before I even leave here, I will make a phone call to the incident command post down there to ensure that that's not what the situation is. I am familiar with one situation where there was a person living in a tent on an adjacent parcel. I think we might be talking about the same incident, so I do have a certain level of familiarity. The real answer is this. If there's somebody that had a constitutional right to live on their parcel and the fire came through and they managed to stay there, they have the same rights that anybody else would who refused to leave at that time. Here's what I always tell folks though. There's some consequential knowledge to be gained from staying and not leaving during the evacuation order. I've been getting people asking me, when can I get propane? When can I get more water? When can I get all of these things? And the real issue is that that's part of the reason also why we have people evacuate out of an area, is because those sustainable life functions that you're going to need are going to be scarce until it's safe to get those folks in there. And the way I look at that repopulation is if I let one person in who lives 200 yards from the command post, well then that person now has more area of an access to all of the areas that are supposed to be protected. And I'm not saying that somebody's going to go in there and have wrongdoing, but I wouldn't be in existence if I didn't at least have that in the forefront of my mind, that if we're going to secure an area and keep everybody out, we have to keep everybody out so we can best protect that area. If that's happening to you, we're going to talk about it and we're going to take care of it tonight.
All right, question right in the middle there.
How long did it take from the first phone call that the fire started to when you finally had somebody in the sky looking around, or actual response time to the fire?
I don't have the exact times on what you're asking. I can tell you that we were already engaged in the other fires with an early up on the aircraft. Be happy to sidebar with you and get some exact for you.
People were asking about why water wasn't dropped on Chinese camp, and that directly goes back to how long did it take? Were you guys focused on the other fires first before it got to that one, or why was it so long before planes were in the sky?
So the planes were in the sky, but they were prioritizing over 21 fires based on the live threat. And like I said earlier, the Vallecito fire had progressed into that structured threat and a notivert based on the threat to life at the time. It was shortly after that the fire blew out on the 6-5 and made that hard run towards Chinese camp. Again, I was in Chinese camp with the engines that were doing as much structural protection as they could. As far as all of the aircraft and that dynamic of the situation, although we tracked the number of gallons we dropped, I can't tell you exactly where they were as I wasn't in the air. But I can tell you that we were there. And I see some head shaking in the back, and I'd be happy to chat with you, but I'm telling you that we gave it a full court effort on everything that we had.
To that question, right now we're in the recovery phase, right? I know you want answers, and what I'm going to guarantee to you is that whether it's in October or November, I would like to have all of our partners at a Board of Supervisors meeting on a special day, specifically just this topic, to break down exactly the timeline so everybody knows exactly what was going on, the response, and how it went. Does that work? Ish? I know, it's the best I can give you, but we want to move to the point where we're in the recovery stage, and I know that there's a lot of people who, let me back up a little bit. Something I didn't say earlier is, one of the things about me is, you may or may not know, is I'm a retired CHP officer. I patrolled Chinese camp for the last, from 2012 to 2022. My first summer up here was the rim fire. I know exactly what you're going through. I have friends who lost homes. I feel you. You're my people. I legitimately can say that because I care when I patrolled your area. So when they say they're doing everything they can to make sure that you're safe, that we're getting you back into your homes, that we're protecting your property, we're not taking away from your rights, and we're not endangering your property, from me, the hand of God, they are honestly doing everything we can to make sure that we are hitting our honor, what we're required to do, both legally and constitutionally. So let's get to the point of let's get the recovery part going, then we'll have a public meeting. We can address all of that. We'll get the timelines out. We'll answer those questions. But we are here for you, and we will continue to work to address those questions.
Got a question right in the back.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the recovery. When it gets to the point where we can actually get back on property, how can I property work? Like, if we want to move the debris, will we not be null and void? Because like I have cattle, so I need to get where I can actually get fences back in. Am I going to be able to move it, or will that null and void you guys coming in and removing it?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a question that if we could just, if you could call our office or you can talk to me, I can take a look at that. I think some of the circumstances, depending on the type of debris it is, we're talking household debris, right? So there's some areas in there. So if you're talking about outside and other parts of the property, let's have that conversation and we're going to be able to look at that. I have to really emphasize, if you have not seen your property or know what the status of it, you can go to our webpage, that Tuolumne County incident, Tuolumne County OAS incident. That live dashboard will come up, and then make sure you're contacting our office on those numbers and we can talk about your property.
Additional questions in the audience? We have one right up front here, or two right up front here. All right, next one around here.
I'm pretty loud. You may not need a microphone. My only question is there any representative here from PG&E? I've been getting notifications since yesterday that my power was restored. I happen to be able to get onto my property at noon today, and I still have no power. So even if you're going to let us back in without the power, most of us are on wells, we have no water, we have no way of hooking our generators up or even functioning, even if you let me in my home. So I just wanted to know, is PG&E just sending those messages out, or do we actually have power? Because as of noon today, I had none.
Yeah, I'm not going to represent PG&E, but I do know they're very in tune with the incident management team. We will be talking to them tonight and tomorrow. Part of the issue is making sure that we have that infrastructure available before we open things up. Now, they were also just coordinating with the DINS teams about which houses were affected and what level they were affected. We don't want to, push out. They did not want to push information out about a house being restored that maybe is damaged or destroyed. And so we want to make sure that we're cognizant of that. But I will, first thing in the morning, make sure the PG&E representative is aware of that. And then we pass that information on to the public as well.
All right, question right here.
Hello, my name is John Catterick. I missed the first couple minutes, but on watch duty on my phone, I saw just today that the fire was 10% contained. I would like to know what percentage is the fire contained at this point in time. It's still an active fire. Also, I heard all these words about positive fire conditions in the future, possible rain coming. I'm also concerned about where did the wind affect this fire? Where did it push it towards? And if the wind comes up in the future, in the next few days, I mean, the fire is still active. I'm worried about putting it out. But let's get this fire out, and we can address these other problems, which are very important with all these other people that have places to move back into. But how about the wind in the future? Is that possible that the fire could spread and get a lot worse?
I'll take that one. So currently we're looking at like a northwest pattern with the wind.
We're going to get that onshore push. That's what's going to push this high pressure out of the area, start bringing that cool weather in. And I'm looking at the forecast the meteorologist handed me before I walked out the door. We're going to see that northwest wind continue until about Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to get that shift to a west wind, and then it's going to go back to a northwest wind. So what that means is we're going to start seeing the winds track from that area that says DD all the way down to the area that says RR. So that's kind of the pattern that we're going to have, that northwest flow. That's what's going to bring in that cool air behind all that stuff. As for the winds during the fire activity, when we get thunder cells over an area, we have very erratic winds. We have downbursts. Basically, you're going to get a thunder cell. Out of the center of that thunder cell, you're going to get winds flowing out as all the rain and everything gets real heavy. The clouds get heavy, all the material gets heavy in the thunder cell. It lets go. You're going to get winds 360 degrees around that thunder cell. So it's real erratic winds. It's one of the things that we teach our basic firefighters to identify, that there's going to be erratic winds around thunder cells. And if they're out on fires, they need to be real heads up, because one portion of the fire might have a wind out of the east, the other portion of the fire might have a wind out of the west. So it's very it's a heads up situation that we teach all the way down to the basic level. So while one fire might be moving to the west, another fire might be moving to the south. It just depends on where those thunder cells go through and how much outflow winds they do produce. So it's a very erratic situation.
What's the percentage of containment at this point in time of the Chinese campfire?
Yeah, right now the Chinese campfire is at 10%. So what I can tell you is our control lines are around the entire fire. So what that essentially is a fire break. So where we can get bulldozers in right on the fire's edge, we bring that fire break in to stop that progression of the fire. So where we can't get the bulldozers in, we utilize hand crews to make sure that they can cut that out. So right now we do have line around the whole entire 6-5 fire. So there is no more growth of that fire. But when the 10% is talking about the ability for that fire to still move. So we do have a ton of hot spots in there. We have a ton of fuel that's around there. So with these winds that are predicted, we still have a chance of that fire to jump our control line. So that's where we go in over the next days and weeks to make sure that we search every bit of that control line to make sure that those hot spots are put out and that fire doesn't escape anymore.
Well, so then it's possible that the fire can burn inside your lines and burn properties that have not yet burned yet. Is that?
So that's what we, out of a 7,000 acre fire, it's going to take us a lot of time to move through that whole fire to ensure that, yes, there are going to be spots inside of that fire that have not burned. Those spots come from the wind shift, they come from water drops from helicopters, they come from fuel that doesn't burn. So yes, those are going to take the time. Our priority is always going to be the edge of the fire. So as soon as we can get the edge control and stop that forward progression, then we are able to move our folks through there to make sure that we can address all those other issues.
For the gentleman on the PG&E, I just talked to them. Let's make sure, I think with one of the PIOs, to get your address, and then they'll contact you. Okay. It does say it's restored. That it's all re-energized. But if there is an issue, make sure you get it to the PIO. They'll get it with the PG&E correctly. So.
All right. Question in the back.
I just wanted to ask the sheriff a question. Well, I got a couple of different questions, but can I ask the sheriff a question? The county sheriff.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, after we were evacuated Tuesday, I left 4 cats in my place with food and water. Wednesday morning, I called animal control and talked to this person. I'm not going to say names or nothing. I'll say this person. And this person guaranteed me they were going out right out there to Chinese camp and that it would be taken care of. Okay, I called back Thursday then morning. Yeah, they're out in the field and everything's being taken care of. A friend of mine went in my house at 4 o'clock yesterday. No food, no water. And I had 4 real valuable little animals in there. And I was wondering about it. I know, half of, over half of Chinese camp buildings and everything's burned down anyway, but I don't understand how that I can get the guarantee from somebody, yes, because this person has stood in my front yard and talked to me twice in the last 6 or 8 months. And these animals were half dead and no water, no food. And man, I was guaranteed, boy, by an animal control officer. Yes, and they were out there every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, out there every day. Nothing. And so anyway, it's someone to be that irresponsible, and I know there was a lot going on, but still, not good, sir.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to respond. There was a lot to unpack there. First, I would just say that our staff, not just animal control or our division of animal control, but deputy sheriffs, have been going and feeding animals. If we messed up on that one, there's nothing that I'm going to say to offer an excuse. We just have to do better next time.
More than one.
Okay, maybe more than one, right? And so let me just also offer this. These folks that are going out and trying to track down these animals, and there's a lot of animals, there's a lot of cases, it's not just one, it's probably not just 2. It might be more than 5, right? But I can tell you right this, the effort that's going into it is 100%. I know because I've seen it, I'm looking at it, and again, if it's not good enough, then we have to take that developmental feedback and we have to do better, we have to work harder to improve our processes. And that's the best answer that I can give you based on the experience that you're telling me about it and looking through that lens. I don't know as I stand here right now if your animals were fed and then on day 5 you came back or day 4 and they just ate the food or drank the water, but I'm just going to trust that how you're explaining it is accurate. And so therefore it becomes feedback for me and my team and how we're going to do business to ensure that, yes, if we give somebody our word that we're going to feed their animals, well, by gosh, I'm going to tell you that's exactly what our intention and our action is supposed to be. And if that didn't happen with you, I get it, and I hear you. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask, sir?
He'll sidebar with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any additional questions in the room? Just raise your hand. We'll get the mic over to you. All right. So this is. Oh, you got another one?
My name is Jim Bliss. I'm here with Tiger Halter, who's got a house still in Chinese camp. And her question with all the stuff lying around is, are there still hot spots around Chinese or in Chinese camp?
By the main post office area. Yes, there's going to be hot spots, and that's why we're going to continue to, reevaluate those every day. The crews are going to continue to grid out through that whole 7,000 acres. But yes, there's going to be hot spots for weeks. We're going to have to grid this. We're going to have to find, especially in the structure areas, those hold a lot of heat. The stump holes hold a lot of heat. So there's going to be hot spots over the next few days, including into the week.
It was a specific question about proper. And understood, your answer is very good, but you're talking about 7,000 acres, and many of the people here are talking about the limited acreage of Chinese Camp Town, and what are the specific threats to Chinese Camp Town still now?
Well, specific threats are going to be those infrastructures, the power line poles, the trees. We have to work with our cooperators to make sure that those power lines are secured, they're restored. The trees that are damaged, that could fall over, we have to go around and make sure that we find those trees and we don't miss those trees. So those are the things that we are going, I can assure you, every day and night, we have engines and people that are gritting through the town of Chinese Camp to seek out exactly those issues.
All right, any additional questions in the room? All right, so this is not the end of the conversation. We have PIOs that are in the aisles and also outside. If you have additional questions that you would like answered, or you want to share your contact information about a specific question about your property that we can try and get you the answer to, please contact one of our PIOs. Find somebody that's in a red hat. We're more than happy to take that, and we'll get that back to you. We're also looking at additional community meetings, both in person and perhaps a virtual option. But please, we need that feedback from you, and this is a collaborative effort, not only with the fire, law enforcement, and the county, but also you, the community. Perfect. So we got one more question. Oh. Okay, and we're going to go through a couple of the cards that our speakers have still.
No, I have 3 cards, but I think the folks actually asked 2 of the questions, and so they were answered. I have one more in here that's regarding media, and it's basically, the question is, why can media go in but the actual homeowners can't? So under the law, even under an evacuation order, we have to provide free press access to any of these critical events. The second part of that question that I've been getting is, well, what about private property? Here's the thing about that. Yes, there are still protections over private property, so media technically isn't supposed to be treading on other folks' property, and they have that obligation, 1, to ensure their own safety, but 2, not to make sure that they're infringing on protected property that falls under that evacuation order. So in a nutshell, and as succinct as possible, those are the provisions, is that 1, we cannot restrict press into an event like this. They have the right to be in there. It is the law. But 2, also, they aren't supposed to be treading or infringing on somebody else's constitutional rights. Even though they're not there, the area is still protected. You still have a reasonable expectation of privacy, that I'm committed to upholding that. So if those things are happening, yes, it's frustrating. Is that supposed to be happening? No, it's not. But it is the law to allow free press access in there as it's guaranteed per the Constitution. So I hope that answers the question. If there's a follow-up to that somebody would like to ask, I'd be happy to answer that. If not, again, I'm not leaving until the last person goes. Can have all the dialogue we need to make sure that questions are getting answered. Thank you. Is there another question?
So the question is, I have many trees around my house and the brush, and the foliage did not catch fire though. But however, the trunks of the trees are charred. I'm not sure to what extent. Could these trees just fall down? So trees are very dynamic. Every species is going to be super dynamic. The cambium layer, the layer that moves the water up and down the trees, if the tree is super healthy, it won't damage that cambium layer, and those trees will still continue to thrive, especially if the foliage has no scorch on it. I'm not a registered professional forester. I'm not an arborist, but I've worked with the department for about 27 years now, ranging from Riverside all the way up towards the Shasta area. So I've seen a lot of this devastation and destruction throughout California. I've gone in with the hand crews for 15 years through through communities like this and looked at it. As we go through and as the firefighters go through, they tag trees that are definitely hazard trees, and we take a second look at them. If they're very large diameter trees, sometimes we bring people in from the logging industry to deal with those severely damaged trees to remove those. A lot of times when PG&E or the utility companies come in, they also bring their arborists in and they look at those trees that are underneath the lines that could impact their future lines, and they'll remove those trees. So chances are that if the foliage did not burn and there's just a little bit of charring on the trunk, those trees will be super healthy. However, if you go back into your homes when the evacuation orders and warnings are lifted and you still have questions, you still have concerns about those trees, definitely contact the local arborist. If you think there's still some more issues, you can definitely flag down some of the fire engines that might still be driving by, or even place a call for service, and we can get something over to you so somebody can take a look at those trees. Could cactus plants catch fire if they're smoldering and reignite? Cactus plants are very hardy plants. The majority of the time what burns is all the old leaf litter and old skin layers down on the bottom of the ground. 9 times out of 10, again, you won't have a cactus plant that will really ignite and carry fire, and it definitely won't reignite once it's dried out and completely gone from another fire. However, if the root system is still okay, a lot of times provide them a little bit of water and they'll start coming back and start thriving again. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, I must have been the odd man out and I got all of the rest of them. So a couple of questions. The first one was really about, about having dedicated public affairs officer or PIOs, public information officers, or just public information individuals, and quickly how information is coming out. And I won't speak for the Sheriff's Office, but I will just say that both the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office, Tuolumne Calaveras Unit, CAL FIRE, have phenomenal PIO shops. We always defer to the information that they are vetting and pushing out. Understand that during an event, all of that comes very quickly. We are making sure that any information that comes out on those public-facing social media is vetted information, is very exact, accurate, timely information, that we are doing that in a very conscientious manner. We support those two and making sure that information is getting out. So the comment was really about why not, we don't have it dedicated for Tuolumne County, but we use Tuolumne County Sheriff's PIO, the unit's PIO. They're already pushing information out, and it's less for us to try to duplicate that effort, because a lot of things are happening and we're trying to organize and support the response in that matter. There's been also a couple of questions about, will there be help cleaning the property? We talked about that debris removal process and where we're at, and how we're going to try to get assistance for each of the property owners. So stay tuned to that, more to come, and then reach out directly with our office. One of the questions was, I was able to go back to my home. Power has been restored, but my well pump is gone. Is it safe to have power on before the well is used? So we do have a lot of individuals that are on wells out there. We've heard stories that the house is still standing and the power's on, but there is no water because the well pump has been destroyed. So we'll again work with you, make sure you're contacting our office, and we will make sure that we're looking to figure out, how we can provide resources that might assist you in that matter. There is my understanding, there is no harm, but obviously if your power from the pump to your house is not working because the pump has been destroyed, obviously you're not going to have water through that pumping system. The other question related was, one is power and water coming back on. I don't know if you do have other water system other than a well. Please make sure you call us, reach out. We will make sure you're connected with those utility companies to see what's happening in that particular resident and that address. Next question, let's see, make sure I get them all. Alrighty, this is a two-part. One is, again, residential connection with water and power. We answered that, but the last one is very important. Will there be social services, services and employees to help residents who have lost their homes, including mental health and crisis counseling? Absolutely. Annie Hockett, who is the Director of our Health and Human Services, is here tonight. We've been talking since day one, and as we've been updated on the damages in this community, we will be helping support that. You also have currently right now 211 services. If you call 211 and you need some of those assistance, they will help direct you to the right person in the organization. When we get to that LAC, that local assistance center, we will have those individuals in the departments there as well. So please reach out to 211. Also, when we get to that LAC, we will have those agencies able to assist you. Thank you.
All right, is that the remainder of our cards? Perfect. I got one card.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Nathan Guan. I'm your Assistant County Fire Chief for the Tuolumne County Fire Department. The question we were posed with is, why was the Chinese Camp Volunteer Fire Station truck left sitting at the fire department with 2 firefighters there, and that pumper never moved until after evacuation orders were issued? So with that, Chinese Camp Station 61, the Tuolumne County Fire Department is just that. It is a volunteer fire station. It currently has an active roster of 1 individual. His name is Robert Anzar. He's volunteered for his community for the past 34 years. I'm unaware as to who the other 2 individuals were that may have been seen there at the fire station. What I can tell you is that Station 61 houses 1 water tender and 2 reserve fire engines. The reason those other engines weren't staffed is that we didn't have a sufficient number of volunteers available. 1 guy cannot staff 3 pieces of equipment. So with that, I ask you, across approximately 55,000 residents in the county, we only have 19 active volunteers. Myself and other staff from Tuolumne County Fire Department are in the room, and I urge anyone that is interested to please reach out. Thank you.
All right, so that will close out our community meeting for this evening, the formal presentation. We will remain outside the auditorium for as long as you need, answering any additional questions and getting you connected with the resources that you need. Thank you, and have a good evening.